Hello and welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and with me here at the World Economic Forum in Davos, GV Prasad, the co-chairman and managing director of Dr.Reddy's Labs. Welcome to Business Today. It's been good weather today, at least no rain, Mr. Prasad. But before I get down to some specific questions, I want your views as a leading light of India's pharma industry, which has a name across the globe. Does a zero COVID strategy, pursuing a zero COVID, complete elimination strategy for COVID, make sense given the way the infection has evolved?
That's a difficult question for me to answer. I'm not an expert on virology, but all indications seem to be that we have to live with the virus. It will be there in some form, it will evolve, just become less harmful. And we just have to, I think, learn to live with this just like we've learned to live with the flu.
From an overall pharma sector, what have the last 2 years taught you as a person leading a large Indian manufacturer of pharma? What are the key abiding lessons that you think have to stay with us?
There's three lessons I'd like to talk about. The first one is there needs to be a great degree of collaboration between the regulators, the governments, industry, and society. And if together we can work, we can accelerate the development of therapies, improve the health of our people in a much faster way. That is number one. Number two, I think overall companies can be much more productive and if we focus on the very essence of what we are doing. And during COVID, all the superficial activities fell off and we just focused on the essential ones. And through that, you can improve productivity tremendously. That was the second lesson. The third lesson is the whole cycle of pharma development used to take a long, long time. During the crisis, when everybody worked together with the same intent, we could achieve results in much faster ways. So the velocity of the workflow improved tremendously. So these are the three lessons for me and for my company.
Mr. Prasad, the last point about accelerated development.
Yeah.
We saw that happen in the vaccine space, also for some other
Therapeutics
also. Can this now apply across the board, or was this only an emergency response to a once in a century situation?
Of course, it was an emergency, and that actually helped us take some risks. But in the long term, I think there are ways we can adopt some of these lessons to accelerate the value chain and accelerate innovation. Of course, new tools have also emerged in biotech, especially. The whole bio revolution got accelerated, which was in an evolution phase, has now become a revolution. And I think that will make a big impact on new therapies and new ways of treating diseases.
Can you give us an example? Is it possible for you to share an instance where the average viewer can relate to what you said?
Okay, just look at a vaccine. Typically, a vaccine development takes years to develop. From the time the genome of the virus was published, within a year, less than a year, we got the first vaccine out. This was thanks to the new technology of mRNA, where the body itself codes, the code is inserted into your cells, and the cells produce the virus or a replica of the virus, and your body is primed
Starts developing the
antibodies.
immunity to it.
Yes, this happened in a year. This is unprecedented. So this is one great example of the new technology, the new biology.
That's a very nice example which makes it evident. Yet, if you recall, when all of this was happening, I'm not talking about anti-vaxxers, but even those who are, I would say, sane people when it comes to vaccine, they said, but how can it be developed so fast? It takes years to test. They are making us guinea pigs. This is too fast.
Yeah.
Was it lack of awareness about the potential of technology? Do you think those concerns were valid?
I mean, some concerns are always valid because not all vaccines made it to the finishing line. As you would have noticed, some of them were not efficacious enough. But I don't think we took any chances on safety or impact on the other aspects of the human body. To that extent, I think the science was very credible. And we could do this in 1 year, not because we invented the science in 1 year, but the science was built over decades.
It was only
I
applied.
applied in a year.
Yes.
And
When
we-
the need for an emergency
It
response.
came, we all responded and took the tools at our disposal and did this.
So is mRNA and perhaps a few other technologies, biotechnologies, now set for the mainstream for accelerated development rollout of all the
Yeah.
diseases that don't have a solution?
I can't say that all diseases, but for many diseases, I think mRNA works, especially in areas like cancer, to get the drug to the target or to prime your immune system to kill the cancer cells. And there are many other applications which will be accelerated by the science that has developed. But I mean, it was an interesting time in our history that biology was ready for the main stage and it happened.
Absolutely. Mr. Prasad, as we talk about this beyond the health burden imposed on Indian society and elsewhere in the world due to the pandemic, India has certain unique problems when it comes to health, and we have amongst the highest burdens of obesity related diseases, heart,
Everything
diabetes. Broadly speaking, when it comes to our health as a country, where do we stand today? Because while we celebrate the success of companies like yours, the reality is that millions and millions of Indians don't even get a simple crocin at times.
I think this is a major problem for our country. While we have made great progresses on the technology front, on the unicorns, on entrepreneurship, on growth, but our social indicators speak otherwise, like you said. And we as a country, as a government, as society, as people, we need to improve the health of our citizens. We need to improve primary health, access to primary health. We have some good systems like the Asha healthcare worker, the primary healthcare backbone. We must build on that. We must expand that system. We could use technology like digital technology to improve the reach of that. We also need to, I mean, the government is doing some wonderful things in digital health, like the digital health ID and creating the platform system. I think we need to accelerate those, and we should measure the outcomes more than the inputs and ensure that, you know, the health of our citizens is improving. We have issues on our lifespan, infant mortality, nutrition, some infectious diseases like TB are still there. So there is an agenda for all of us.
Absolutely. Mr. Prasad, I don't know if you've been asked this before, but story of two Indias when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah.
One India can access the best healthcare, and that healthcare is also accessed by overseas people. Foreigners come for treatment
Yes.
because it is cheap, it is effective, or
Yeah.
it is affordable. I should not
course.
call it cheap. But the other India does not have access even to primary healthcare despite all efforts.
Yes.
How good or bad is the situation?
So one thing COVID woke us all up was to this reality. And I'm very happy that the government has recognized that health is an important topic for the governments, and they own the health of the citizens today. And if they can act on it, do what they're doing in a much more intensive way, and give a greater allocation of resources to health, I think we will improve. Maybe it'll take some time because, you know, changes like this cannot happen overnight, but the system is there, the skeleton is there, and we have to build on it, overlay technology on it, and improve access. And it's not so difficult for us.
Absolutely. One of the other abiding lessons and a painful, sad lesson that was taught to many Indians and their families was the lack of insurance cover.
Yeah.
It was not just a medical catastrophe, it was a financial hit for many families, hundreds and thousands perhaps. We'll perhaps never know the actual hit. Insurance in India, still one of the most underpenetrated, and I would argue expensive in relative terms,
Relative
plus
to our
18% GST. Is that also part of the problem, the lack of a mainstream insurance culture?
In a way, yes, but I think that's an easier problem to solve. And I think India has started the insurance system for below poverty line. Each state has its own schemes. And that's a lesser of a problem than really providing healthcare at the time it's needed, at the place where it's needed. Access and, you know, availability.
Okay.
Affordability is also there, but I think India has done a great job in making things affordable. Like you said, people come from all over the world to get treated here.
Absolutely. We've spoken about healthcare, India's health economy. Let me now turn to ask you a few questions about your own company and where you stand. And this is in the context of geopolitical situation, because at Davos we are seeing the biggest headline is the
Ukraine,
Ukraine war
Russia.
at Russia. How is that impacting your own business? Russia was a significant market for you
Russia is still a significant market for us.
and will remain so.
It will remain so. It's around 9-10% of our revenue. We also have a business in Ukraine and we serve the citizens of Ukraine. We continue to serve them now. We are not in a political game. We are primarily committed to our patients. And people on a therapy have to continue to be on a therapy. And that's why availability of drugs is important. And we will step in where it is required and we will serve patients wherever they are in the world.
How is the overall international market space evolving? The US remains one of the largest destinations for Indian pharma.
Yeah.
For your own company, how is the lay of the land?
So for us, America is the largest market, US is the largest market, but that market has significant pricing pressure. And hence we are trying to allocate capital for the other markets, the branded markets. India, of course, India is a major focus area for us. We have also started acquiring businesses in India to add to our bulk there. And then after that, it's a range of emerging markets, including Russia, South America, Far East and Middle East, and a clutch of various other countries. We also have an ingredients business, which we supply worldwide.
Is doing business becoming difficult with Russia? How are you managing your payments?
We haven't seen any difficulties because I don't think food and medicine fall into that category of
in the
sanctions.
embargo category, and there is no spillover impact. Given the changing geopolitical situation, one of the other big themes is the return of inflation, or actually the inflation cloud that seems to be hanging over much of the world. Americans are complaining.
Yes.
Europe is also seeing cost pressures. How is your company dealing with it? I'm sure there is some impact that you have witnessed.
There is impact. Input costs have risen, especially materials that we source internationally. Freight costs have gone up. But overall, I think we are able to cope.
The material sourcing internationally, China, I'm sure, is a significant supplier.
Yes.
How has that impacted you?
China is a significant source, but it's about 8 to 9% of our sourcing revenue, sourcing cost. And it's been stable. We have not had any challenges there.
Has the recent sort of turn of events led you to think about a China plus one strategy for your own supply security?
We've been internalizing manufacturing for a while now, and that's why we are only 8%, and not very high.
The larger question about Atmanirbharta, we have seen PLI schemes in several sectors. Long term, do you think that in a world that seems to be deglobalizing and there is economic fragmentation also, the trade order that had evolved meant for the ordinary Indian citizen that while the medicine might be packaged and sold under a particular brand, the bulk ingredient could have originated from 10,000 kilometers away.
Correct.
Do you see that changing now, and do you see Atmanirbharta being a strategic necessity even in the pharma space?
I think independence on certain critical things is important. For example, vaccines, for example, life-saving medicines. But I don't know if we want to produce everything in India. I think in the end,
why wouldn't just
economics matter. Economics matter in certain parts of the world. Certain costs are cheaper, and in the end, capitalism is about buying at the lowest price and selling at where you're getting the best realization. So I think that model is difficult to change.
As a pharma company head, you've had, I would say, a bird's eye view and an insider's view of globalization and how it works and whatever its weaknesses are. Not on pharma, a broader question, because we are in Davos.
Yes.
You think this bit about deglobalization, economic fragmentation is here to stay, or is it a temporary transitory phase?
I would go with the temporary transitory phase argument.
Why is that?
I think this is how economics work globally. And if we start putting barriers in countries for trade or for whatever reasons, it'll become more expensive for citizens. So in the end, the direction will be to globalize.
Okay. as I wind down this conversation, I also want you to tell our viewers about what are the new products in the pipeline. I believe there must be perhaps almost 24 products.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To be specific on products is difficult.
Yeah.
But as a company, we are continuing to grow our core businesses of active ingredients and generics, branded and unbranded, and that's a big focus area for the short to medium term. Long term, we are going to build our biosimilars business, and also new areas like drug discovery based in oncology, and other innovations like digital health and other things that we are small experiments now, but we hope will become meaningful in the long term.
I want to just come to that cancer question that we started, and you just spoke about drug discovery. This is a huge burden along with diabetes and other lifestyle related diseases. How big is the problem? And just as you know, a few decades ago, the AIDS pandemic disease was galvanized the whole world into action. Around cancer, can we say that 10 years down the line we'll have managed it in the Indian context?
So I think the problem for India is not that we don't have therapeutics. I think we diagnose it late. And I think we need to invest
more. Why is that? Can you explain that to the viewer? Why does that happen?
I think we don't spend enough money on screening patients, early detection. And cancer can be treated if it's detected early. By the time you experience symptoms, it's too late. So I think our country needs to invest in screening, early screening, diagnostic, new generation diagnostics which are easier without taking tissue samples.
Are enough of those kinds of screening tests available?
The tests are available, but you and me, we have to get screened on our own. We can't wait for a disease to come and hit us and then go to the doctor after that. Especially in cancer, by the time the symptoms arise, it's too late.
Okay, that's very sane, very reasonable advice from someone who knows the pharma space very well. Thank you very much, sir, for your time with us today. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. If you've been, thank you very much for watching.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.